Super Bowl 60 is set. The Patriots and the Seahawks handle their conference championship game business. I'm Joey Lavelle. That is Briggs with me, and we are the Nothing But Sports podcast. Welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Thank you all for tuning in. We also ask you to comment your answer to our question of the day, which we'll be covering a little bit later. What is your overall opinion on the Pro Bowl? Please let us know your thoughts and your thoughts overall of that. We'll be covering the analysis for the conference championship games and some of the coaching changes along with a early Super Bowl 60 preview. But first, this news just broke today, a couple of hours ago. Bill Belichick, not a first ballot Hall of Famer, which is just absolutely insane to me. I don't understand how you get to this state of mind and think, oh yeah, the 6-time Super Bowl champion coach doesn't deserve to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's a report that came out, don't know how accurate it is, just broke not too long after we found out Belichick won't be a first ballot Hall of Famer, is that Bill Polian told some of the other voters that they need to wait a year because of Spygate and Deflategate. And my instant reaction is, well, if that's the case, then Tom Brady's not a first ballot Hall of Famer then, right? Because he benefited from that. Even if you take those two out, it's still, those two Super Bowls out, it's still Belichick's still a 4-time Super Bowl champion. So, which is already a Hall of Fame career and it's in of itself. So, Briggs, I'll get your thoughts immediately on this. How is Bill Belichick not a first ballot Hall of Famer?
I'm kind of speechless. And this is one of those things where it's like, I don't know if the justifications for it are justified, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. You talk about Deflategate and Spygate. Yeah, it'll forever be a stain on a fantastic career. Love him or hate him, he is one of the greatest coaches the NFL has ever seen. The 6 Super Bowls, I don't know if we'll see it again. I think Andy Reid might come the closest for now if he wins another one here soon, but he's getting old. I don't think he'll get the 6. But my original thoughts after seeing that before the Bill Polian headline came out was like, so many people hated on the Patriots for so long. They were such the villain dynasty that it had such a bad taste in everyone's mouth who wasn't a New England fan. Like, everyone despised New England, and it was like anytime the Patriots weren't in the Super Bowl or didn't win, like the 2 years that Manning got them, Eli, that is, like, everyone was so happy that it wasn't Tom Brady and Belichick again. So I originally thought it was like, oh, like that bad taste of, like, we don't like Belichick. I'd originally wondered if that was the case. I don't want to say I see where Polian's coming from, but I don't know if it's the same thing as like being like, oh, was it Sammy Sosa? I don't think he's still in the Baseball Hall of Fame yet because he had the PEDs, or was it Barry Bonds? I think it was Barry Bonds, where he was juicing, and they're like, oh yeah, which that's another topic for another day because I think that he should be in just because hitting a baseball isn't all purely strength. But besides the point, speechless. I hated New England when I was younger. But still, I think that Belichick, you take away those 2 years, you can take them away entirely. I mean, the dude ran the AFC for almost a decade and a half, dominated the AFC East for almost 20 years. So, I mean, I don't know how we're just glancing over the fact that, hey, 2 years out of 15 to 20 is enough to keep a guy out of the Hall of Fame on that first try, given that if he doesn't get in next year, people need to start getting removed from voting. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I really just I can't wrap my head around it. The amount of playoff wins that the Patriots have and the amount of success Belichick's had over a sustained period of time. And people need to get out of the mindset of Brady was only responsible for Bills rings. I really don't understand that logic. Like, Brady's not winning 6 Super Bowls without Belichick. Belichick's not winning 6 Super Bowls without Brady. Same can be said for Mahomes. Mahomes is not a 3-time Super Bowl champion without Andy Reid. Andy Reid is not a 3-time Super Bowl champion without Patrick Mahomes. But it's a perfect marriage type thing. It's not because of one or the other. It's because of each other. It was a perfect marriage. Belichick's roster management was second to none his entire run. And there's so many layers to this, I feel like, that just don't make sense. It's just, even if you want to include Spygate and Deflategate, one, how Bill Polian convinced them to not vote him in is one thing, and then just the fact that you can be swayed that easily. Like, you need to have your own opinion. It's not because it'll turn in, yeah, we'll get him next year, and then next year comes, and then you don't vote him in because of X, Y, and Z. So I think it is an atrocity to the sport. I'm lost for words. Moving on to maybe the start of another Patriots dynasty. The Patriots did beat the Broncos in the Mile High Blizzard 10-7. We're doing offensive and defensive start of the game for these two games. Offensive, even though it wasn't a glaring performance, it is going to be Drake May. He was 10-21, 86 passing yards, 10 carries for 65 yards, and a touchdown, which ultimately kind of won the game. And then you have, for defensive star of the game, Christian Gonzalez, who's just absolutely tremendous with 6 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss, 1 PBU, and 1 interception. And there was nothing going by Christian Gonzalez in this game. And that kind of goes with the Patriots' defense, how they've been the entire playoff. The defense starred, and they were plus 2 turnovers. They only gave up 181 yards. They had 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. Their defense was just tremendous. They held the Broncos to 4-14. So just a tremendous performance by this Patriots defense, and their offenses kept doing enough to win them the game. They won third down, 6 of 18 to 4 of 14. They won rushing, 141-79. And it's been a great run. I think I saw the stat where it's the least amount of points by a team that's going to points scored by a team that's going to the Super Bowl ever, which is just insane. It shows how much this Patriots defense has bowed up and how well they played. The protection of Drake May still lacks, and it's a big concern going into the Super Bowl. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but it is a really big concern going into the Super Bowl. Drake May took another 5 sacks. But this is another win that the Patriots have been able to strung out against a top 5 defense. Now, for the Broncos, early in that game, I thought we were going into Stiddy City. And the first drive wasn't great, but it showed a little bit of momentum. And then the second drive, they drive all the way down the field and score a touchdown. And like, my gosh, Broncos can do it. The next 10 drives, they had 2 turnovers. And I think it was like 100 yards or something like that. So just couldn't keep it going. I know the blizzard and other factors didn't help. There were 4 missed kicks or 4 missed or blocked field goals in that game, which speaks to the weather conditions. The defense played how they needed to for the Broncos to win. They held New England to 10 points. They had 5 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 3 PBUs. I talked to Dylan about this off camera. Take the points. I don't understand why all of these head coaches are allergic to taking points early in the game. It costed the Bills. It costed probably almost every other team that's lost a playoff game or lost in the playoffs is not taking these early fourth downs and just kick the freaking field goal. Because if you kick that field goal, you go up 10-0 at that point. And it completely changes the game because now the Pats are down 2 scores. So just a questionable decision. We'll see if that affects either one of these teams moving forward. And another thing for the Broncos, they didn't run the ball enough. Their running backs averaged more yards a carry than the New England running backs. So I don't understand why they didn't run the ball. They threw the ball 31 times, I believe. I think
Yes.
it was 34. It was 34 because you had 3 sacks. And you ran the ball 21 times, I believe. So it was close to that. It was 24 times. So you didn't, and if you look at the Patriots side, the Patriots had 34 carries and I believe 26 passing attempts. So I don't understand, and this is the second game in a row where they needed to establish the run and they just never did. And even though they were only getting less than 3 yards a carry, the Patriots still ran the ball and it won them the game. So that is my take on it. Obviously, with Bo Nix, this game might look a little bit different. But Briggs, I'll get your thoughts on the game.
So first, one of the big things I said that New England had to do if they were going to win was Drake May had to protect the ball. While the offensive line wasn't able to necessarily protect Drake May didn't turn the ball over. And that was a big thing. And that was something that had been a big question for us going into the game. And we were like, if New England was going to lose the game, one of the factors was going to be because Drake May kept turning the ball over and whatnot. The other thing you talk about it being steady early. I think the big thing that New England came into that game thinking was if Denver's going to win, we're going to force Jarrett Stidham to beat us. It's a guy who hasn't started at all this year come in and start the AFC Championship game, who, when Sean Payton had the choice between Russell Wilson or him, even after their season was far gone last year, still went with a very struggling Russell Wilson over Jarrett Stidham, and has been kind of a guy that's been looked over and not been the first pick. And so New England came in and was like, hey, we're going to force him to beat us. And you saw a lot of those downfield throws were open early. On the flip side, you look at the way New England was ready for the run. They weren't going to let that Broncos running game get going early because every time that ball was handed off, I mean, you had Patriots players right at the line of scrimmage unblocked, ready to hit whoever it was that had the ball. RJ Harvey went 13 carries for 37 yards. And I think a lot of those early drives, it was him getting just nailed in the backfield. I think it was the first drive where the Broncos didn't go anywhere. I think you had an incompletion early from Stidham and then 2 runs, and it was just like they were running into a brick wall. And then another big thing, the Broncos, for the first time in Sean Payton's career, given that Broncos and Saints, they were held to 10 straight scoreless drives after that touchdown. And you talk about how much of a factor the weather played, and I think that's one of the first games, might be the coolest thing I've ever seen, where the field completely clear, weather was completely normal in the first quarter, and by the end of the fourth quarter, there was probably 2.5 inches of snow on the ground. I thought that was really cool, just visually. And then the Broncos defensive front was able to get home. I kind of mentioned that the Patriots offensive front hasn't been able to really protect Drake May too much. I don't know what Will Campbell was doing, but dude is getting cooked on a weekly basis at this point, and it's starting to feel like, I don't want to say he's the weak link on that offensive line, but he's definitely the wet part of the paper, if that makes sense. It's still there. You can still read what's on it, but if you poke your finger at it, your finger's going right through. And so I think you look at this upcoming matchup with the Super Bowl. I know we'll talk about this a little bit today. and a lot more next week. But if the Seahawks are going to get pressured, that secondary, they're able to sit back with 4 or 5 guys in the secondary and be perfectly fine and rush 7. So that Patriots front has got to be better. And that has been something that's been a issue in the 3 games they've played so far. The Broncos got 11 QB pressures with 37.9% pressure rate. They got 5 sacks. And that 5 number, I think that's the 3rd time they've gotten sacked 5 times this postseason. And then Drake May's legs were the difference in the game, I think. I think you kind of mentioned earlier, it was when they needed a big play, when Drake May got kind of pushed out of the pocket, he got the first down with his legs. I think it was that final drive where in the thick of the snow, borderline blizzard coming down, you saw him be able to roll out of the pocket and get the 10-yard run or whatever to get the first down. 6.5 yards per carry for him scrambling, I think is really, really good. They're going to need that in 2 weeks, but that offensive front's got to be better, and that's a massive, massive red flag going into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Drake May called his own number a lot in this game. He had the longest rush for both teams. I would believe it was the 3rd longest play of the game, something close to that, 3rd or 4th, and called his own number on the 28-yard run, which led them to the game-winning field goal, and called his number on 3rd down to pick up the first down for the win. So Drake May having the confidence to call his own number, it was tremendous. The snow globe aspect of the game, the snow was literally coming down sideways. Pretty cool. That is how fast it got snowed up was really cool to see. Now, on the other side, Darnold shines on the biggest stage. The Seahawks win a thriller 31-27 over the Rams. And I'll go with defensive star of the game first because I really want to mention this Sam Darnold thing. Devon Witherspoon, 6 tackles, 2 PBUs, which were on the 3rd and 4th down of the last drive of the 4th down drive for the Rams in the red zone. And had the game-sealing tackle, which ran out the clock on Puka Nacua and kept him in bounds. Devon Witherspoon and Nick Emanwari, South Carolina legend, had an awesome game. I believe Devon Witherspoon was out of Illinois. He's a young guy. I think he's in his 3rd year. And then Nick Emanwari, who's the rookie safety. Just absolutely tremendous games from them. The way they were all over the field, it was just a clinic to watch, even though the Seahawks made a lot of mistakes on defense. It was awesome to watch those two. I can't wait to watch them again. And Sam Darnold. What are you going to say about Sam Darnold now? He was 25 of 36, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 3 carries for 9 yards, and the longest of 14. So I think he ran out of bounds on one of those plays, which took a couple yards off, and no turnovers. And we kind of thought going into the game that Sam Darnold was going to have to throw the ball, and what would be the cost of the game? What would be the cost of Sam Darnold having to throw a lot? There was no cost. Sam Darnold outplayed Matthew Stafford, which is something you didn't really think you would say going into this game. You kind of thought that the Seahawks might win this game in spite of Sam Darnold, not because of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is the one that led them to a win, along with Jackson Smith-Njigba and Kenneth Walker playing a very good game. Smith-Njigba had an awesome game, and so did Walker. Walker had over 101 total yards and a touchdown. Smith-Njigba had 10 receptions, 153 yards, and a touchdown. The goal line stand, and as I said it a couple seconds ago, goal line stand really won them this game. What a job by this defense to bow up at the end of the game. I don't believe there were any points in the 4th quarter of this game, and the Seahawks defense really bowed up. The offense was able to run the ball, pound the rock to kill some of that clock in the 4th quarter so they could pull out that win. And just an awesome game. And as I said with Peyton with the 4th down earlier, do you question the Rams not kicking it on that first 4th down? They ended up getting it, but there would have been a lot more time on the clock if they had kicked that field goal. They would have only been down 1 and would have had a chance to get the ball back and be able to kick a game-winning field goal. So again, I do question these fourth down decisions. I think you sometimes need to take the points. I know that was a little bit easier of a decision. I get why he went for it more than the Peyton one. But again, another somewhat questionable call on that first fourth down, even though they got it. The Seahawks won third down, 7 of 13 to 1 of 8. You said third down was going to be a big key in this game. Give
You're
you credit
stealing
for
my
that.
points.
The Seahawks did really well keeping the Rams behind the sticks. That you again said make Stafford uncomfortable. Really did force them in that third and loss. Red zone. We both said that was going to be a big key. Seahawks were 4 of 5 in the red zone against 2 of 3. And special teams was a huge part of this game, which I really think is getting looked over. They had the fumble recovery on the muff punt. Who the Seahawks punter? He had 5 punts in the 20 inside the 20. The final 2 drives the Rams had were inside their 10 or more. The first one was on their 10, and I believe the last one was on their 6. Or I got those flipped, one of the 2. But special teams was a huge thing, especially towards the end of this game. For the Rams, the muff pump really dug them a deep hole. They fired their special teams coordinator earlier in the year, and it's costed them a couple of games this year. And it was the 10 first and then the 6. So for their last 2 drives. And the Rams will be back. And I have no doubt if we continue getting this McDonald-McVay coaching matchup, it is absolute cinema. And these 2 brainiacs just going at it back and forth hopefully 3 times a year is just awesome. The NFC West is in a really good place, and it might be the most entertaining division in football for quite a few years to come. Your thoughts?
Well, my original thought here is, what am I doing here at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4 out of my 6 points just gone off the board. Yep, just like the Caps in the NHL standing, just down. As I said earlier, last week, big thing in this game was going to be third downs, as Joey just duly noted. Seattle, over 50%. LA, just one converted third down. Not 100%, just one. I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you want what?
That was 17.5%.
Yeah, you want to keep talking? You want me? I can just leave. Just let you do this on your own. I mean, you damn near took. I had like a whole paragraph written and just gone with the wind. I mean, I was even going to make comments on Nicky Manwari. Like, that was my shameless plug. I'm the Carolina. Like, I got a flag right there. Like, I've been ride or die for that dude since day one. Dude's been a dog. The 3 pass breakups led the game. 5 tackles, good for 4th on the Seahawks. I mean, just fantastic game for the kid. And he's been all over the field this year. And something I will say, South Carolina's starting to put out a couple of decent safeties and cornerbacks lately. So, not saying we're DBU by any stretch of the means, because we put out like one good one every 3 years. But hey, now we're on the up. Actually, back to what I'm supposed to be talking about here. The Rams' average third down distance was 7.5 yards. Don't know the accuracy on that. That was Google's like AI assistant thing that came up with that. I couldn't find the actual stat on like next gen stats or anything. So that number could be way off. Don't take my word for it. But that's the number I found. So I'm going to go with it. I said that, and I've said this the entire run for the playoffs. Teams need to get the Rams into long third and distance plays because their run game, I don't feel like is reliable enough to get that first down there. They're going to have to throw it. You know who they're going to throw it to. I mean, Puka had 9 for 165. Better chance it's going to him. I mean, he had almost a third of the Rams receptions. Actually, a lot more than a third. Just under half. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of rambling on here. I don't really have too much else to talk about. I mean, he took it all.
I will say Devontae played really well as well.
He did.
He had a
That
couple of
was
big plays.
I will say, now that I can actually talk about something because you pointed it out, I was thinking going into this game whether or not he was going to be a factor because for those listening that have played sports, like the hamstring is like one of the most sensitive. Like you tweak that thing and it's just so uncomfortable. And so I get that it's been 3 weeks now since he tweaked it. So he's had plenty of time to recover from it. But it's one of those things where it's like, if it's not like 100%, like you're good to go, it's still like you could be 95% and it feels like you're 50, if that makes sense. Like it's one of those things where it's nagging you for so long and it's so easy to reactivate or re-aggravate. So that was one of my big questions saying, how good to go is he? I think that having him as a wide receiver too behind Puka, I mean, that's going to be a massive, I guess, trio for them next year. And I mean, I don't know how much more Stafford can throw for. I mean, he already threw for was it just shy of 5,000 or he'd break 5,000 this year?
I think it was just shy of 5,000, including playoffs.
It was just shy of 5,000 in the regular season. It was 4,700. So I wonder if he'll get there next year. We'll see. Have to see how the secondary shape up, but yeah,
Rashid Shaheed, big game, big reception early in the game too.
not Big Seahawks, Big Saints guy right there. I love how all of my favorite teams now have just.
Traded him for a bag of potato chips.
I love how all of my favorite teams have just become farm systems for their respective leagues, with the exception of the Caps. But you look at the Marlins, I can list off a damn near Hall of Fame list of people who have gone on to be great. Christian Yelich, Stanton. What's his name? He's was it the second baseman for the Yankees, maybe? Out of the Bahamas. Jazz Chisholm. He's been a big name to go. Never mind. I can't name a Hall. I'm blanking right now. You ask me tomorrow and I'll be able to name it. But all right, back on schedule.
It takes the Baltimore Ravens job. Where does a defensive assistant slash DB coach from 2017, 2022, I think. I think what I had written down was wrong. But went to the Wolverines, was their defensive coordinator for the national championship run. Those defenses were probably the best in the country those 2 years, if not top 10. Joined Jim in LA for the last 2 years. And I think the Ravens really went with the trusted guy that they had a relationship with. I don't think they really wanted to wait any longer. Jesse Minter is one of those up and coming defensive guys. For what I don't have a lot on this. I think it's a relatively good hire. I will be interested to see who they hire as the offensive coordinator to be with Lamar. I do find it a little bit interesting that they are going with defense, well, not offense again. So, but young guy, the defense really did have problems this year. So, and it's a relatively young defense. So maybe Minter will be able to coach them up a little bit more. I assume he's going to be calling the plays. So I give this a B plus. They got pretty much what they wanted, and it was a good hire. They already trust him. So I think it was a fine hire.
Yes, finally my turn to talk about something you didn't talk about. So as you kind of mentioned already, he has close ties to the Harbaugh family. He's worked under both brothers. You mentioned he was at Michigan. He was a defensive assistant for the Ravens prior to the Michigan job, and then he was the DC in LA. That is a brain teaser and a half right there. The DC in LA. Ha ha ha. You get it, two major cities. Oh well. Anyway, but to kind of touch on the Ravens defense, they were desperate. They're awful this year. And in fact, it was the fun storyline of when they played the Texans, the immovable object versus the movable object, or the movable object of the Ravens defense versus the immovable object of the Texans offense at the time. But the Ravens defense gave up the fourth most passing yards this season. They did have the 10th best run defense. I don't know if I attribute that to because teams were just throwing it over them all day, but they gave up the most passes of 20 plus yards downfield. I believe that number was 64. I don't have it pulled up in front of me. They gave up the 9th most yards a game at 354 and a half. And they were middle of the pack in points per game, but they were 2-6 against playoff teams with an average margin of defeat of 10 and a half. Got swept by the Steelers, had the really bad loss to the Texans, and lost by 2 touchdowns to the Rams. So I think this is a great hire. I'm actually going to give this an A. I think this was kind of who they had in mind all along. They didn't really have eyes on anyone else. I am very interested to see who they bring in as the OC, is what you just mentioned. I think they had their eyes on Joe Brady prior to him being the Bills head coach now. That's just a thought in their head. Cliff Kingsbury is a name that's been thrown out there. But to see the defense kind of get the help that they need with how bad they've been this year. I mean, you look at some of the key games. I mean, they lost to the Ravens, and they had a lot of one-score losses earlier in the season. I think they lost to the Ravens or not Ravens. They lost to the Chiefs by 1, or they lost to the Bills by 1. I think they lost to the Chiefs by 4. But like that early in the season, I think they started 0-3 or 0-4. But it'll be very crucial for them to start out on the right foot next year.
Yeah, really bad
Real quick,
start early. Hopefully,
real quick, not on topic of the Baltimore Ravens at all, but staying in the AFC North. What are your thoughts on Shedeur Sanders making the Pro Bowl?
we will get to that when we answer the question of the day. We'll get to that when we move to the question of the day, because that kind of ties in. Even though that was not what this segment was supposed to talk about, because I made this question of the day before that news got announced, we will talk about that as we go on. But speaking of Joe Brady, he gets promoted to the Bills head coaching job. Joe Brady's an offensive genius. He would have been great at any job. My problem is, and if you watched this show, you heard my tirade on the Bills firing Sean McDermott. Also, side note, Sean McDermott has decided he's not taking a job this year. So he will not be a head coach this year. I don't think he's going anywhere. So, which is what I thought he would do. But my problem is you say in your press conference that you believe you hit a playoff wall. Joe Brady's been there since 2022. Yes, Joe Brady's been there since 2022. So you hire from within to get over the hump that you fired Sean McDermott for? I genuinely don't understand this, because if the message was getting old and your problem was Josh Allen turning the ball over 5 times in a bad call by the referees that you fired Sean McDermott for, but you're going to hire the guy that is directly responsible for Josh Allen, I really just don't understand. I think Joe Brady's a great coach. He led that legendary 2019 LSU team to a national championship. He's a great offensive play caller. But what are we doing? You hit a proverbial playoff wall, quote unquote, and then you hire from within. I just don't understand. It's probably because they realized there were no candidates out there that were going to be better than Sean McDermott. But if you wanted to get the blood fresh, why didn't you just wipe away the entire coaching staff? Or is it because you needed a scapegoat for your bad draft picks, your bad management, your bad cap management? Is that because now you're kind of admitting that's what that is you just needed a scapegoat. That's all this is. Because why are you hiring from within if you're essentially saying the message got old? I don't understand the logic, the thought process. And again, Joe Brady's probably going to do great things as a head coach, even if it's not at the Bills. But if the message was getting old and you hit a playoff wall, you hire a guy that has been there for the last 4 years as you haven't made it to a Super Bowl. I don't understand it, but this is where we are at for the Buffalo Bills now. Briggs.
I think you pretty much just covered it. I think that the big thing here is you talk about wanting to win now, and you go out and get a first time head coach. I think if you're wanting to win now, you kind of go with a more veteran guy, someone who's been there, done that. And with the, I don't want to say lack of coaching talent, because there's a lot of coaches in the coaching carousel right now, but for what you're looking for, there aren't really any names left out there. By the time that you had fired McDermott, there wasn't really anyone left on the block. And so I feel like them doing that was a heat of the moment kind of thing. And this is something we've said before. They should have given McDermott more time. I mean, you look at how long it took Andy Reid to get over the hump. You look at how long it's taken some of these other coaches who will end up being very, if they aren't in the Hall of Fame, they will be like all-time greats in the Hall of Good level coaches. And so to not give McDermott more time, I think they're wasting a year of Josh Allen's potential and their potential Super Bowl window next year, given I think there may be some curses in the powers that be, just given the fact that Buffalo can never seem to get it done. But why? Because we've seen this story play out a million times. What is always this case with a first-time head coach?
Experience. Lack of experience
Lack of
and
experience, the growing
lack
pains,
of
like,
situational awareness. Lack of
and
situational awareness. You see it
for a
all the time with
team
interim coaches.
that wants to win now, you look at that and now you're going to be like, how many games are they going to lose where it's one-score games where you can be like, if this was Sean McDermott and he had taken a timeout here, or if they had done this instead, I mean, this is what we're going to be saying all season next season for the Bills is what would have happened if Sean McDermott was here, and how would these decisions have been different?
Yeah, I give this a C, and not because of Joe Brady, just what you lost and what you gained. I really don't understand. And I'll tell you where your head's at. You're thinking about hiring Phil Rivers as the head coach. There have only been 2 former players that have not had offensive coordinator jobs or head coached anywhere else between college with no coaching experience that have been hired to the NFL. Norm Van Brocklin, all the way back when, I think it was the 70s or the 80s, and I can't remember. And then Jeff Saturday. You saw how Jeff Saturday worked out. So you were nothing against Phil. I think he'll do great as a head coach at some point. But your head was at hiring Phil Rivers or Brian Dable, who just failed at the Giants. I like Brian Dable, but being the head coach of the Bills right now, which there was the familiarity, which I wouldn't be surprised, but you are in a position where you're gonna downgrade no matter what. Like the Ravens firing Harbaugh, I understood a little bit more. But you fire a guy that's gotten you there so many times and raised the expectations for you to be a Super Bowl contender. But we're gonna scapegoat the head coach instead the GM that's drafted 250 Pro Bowlers out of 56 draft picks since he drafted Josh Allen. I I don't know what to tell you. Brady wasn't there for the 13 seconds game, which it would have been justifiable to fire McDermott after the 13 seconds game, but it's just unbelievable. And I'm I'm still in shock about this situation. Moving on to a hire that had a lot of fans not very happy. Mike McCarthy goes back home to coach the Pittsburgh Steelers. I will give information about Mike McCarthy, and then I'll go into a little bit why I don't understand why Pittsburgh fans are super mad. He's at 174 and 100 in the regular season, 11-11 in the postseason. He is a Super Bowl champ. Aaron Rodgers was a two-time MVP under him. He also unlocked Dak and Dak had it probably his best year in the league. And the Dallas offense looked really good in 2023. And so Mike McCarthy's going to be the fourth coach in Pittsburgh since 1969. What has been the complaint at Pittsburgh for the past, I don't know, 5, 8 years is it's been the offense. The offense hasn't been anywhere as good. Mike McCarthy's an offensive guy. He's improved an offense everywhere he's been a head coach at. In Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers becomes a Hall of Famer because recent Aaron Rodgers has not been Hall of Fame caliber. In Dallas, where he developed Dak Prescott. So I've never seen a team that wants to be so bad. I've never seen a fan base that wants their team to be bad. Like, just really bad. Mike McCarthy really likes not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers probably going to stay. I think there was something he said in the press conference that he thinks Aaron Rodgers is coming back. But he really likes Will Howard. And Mike McCarthy develops quarterbacks. Mind you, Dak Prescott was a 4th-round pick. Developed him into a, top 8 quarterback in the league? Top 10, whatever. Obviously, this year was a little bit of a down year, and the year before that was Dak was injured. But Mike McCarthy has had a legacy of developing offenses. And Pittsburgh is an older team. You have older TJ Watt. You have Cam Hayward. You have Aaron Rodgers. There's DK Metcalf's been in the league for a while. Jalen Ramsey. Jonnu Smith. Pat Freiermuth. I think the offensive line's getting a little bit older. There's probably guys that I'm missing. So, Pittsburgh is a much older team. So, bringing in a young guy, I don't know if that really would have worked as well with an old team. I think you bring in the young guy if you want to blow it up, but I still think this team is good enough where you can make a run. Especially because you can be good enough. Let's not act like the 21st pick I think they had this year isn't good enough to get a stud. Because what are the roster holes in Pittsburgh? Maybe running back. Probably need a running back. But you can solve that in free agency. Offensive line, you can solve that in the free agency and the draft. And wide receiver. Go draft a wide receiver in the first round. Carnell Tate, Jordan Tyson, Denzel Boston. All those guys one of those guys will be there, which you'll have the opportunity to go draft. You weren't able to move the ball deep down the field this year, and now Mike McCarthy is going to give you a little more ability to make your offense more dynamic, which it lacked this year because of the lack of wide receiver depth. If you go make a couple of signings in free agency, you can really bolster this roster and go make a run with an experienced guy with an older, experienced team, which I think will lend a huge part. So that's my take on it. I think Mike McCarthy, it's an A if Aaron stays for another year. I'll take it down to a B if Aaron doesn't stay this year, because I think Will Howard will need another year to develop, because I don't think they're going to get a quarterback, because I think Ty Simpson will be gone. So I think Will needs another year to develop. So under Aaron and Mike McCarthy, which would do him really well. So that is where I go with that. I'll get your thoughts on Mike McCarthy returning.
You pretty much covered it. My big thing is I feel like this seems like Aaron's coming back next year. I feel like this was his guy, him telling the Steelers organization, like, hey, this is who I want if I'm going to come back. And then also, he's not a bad coach. You've mentioned his stats by any means. I think this will kind of help move Pittsburgh out of the loop of mediocrity that they were in. Given going to the playoffs every year is not a bad situation to be in, or almost every year is not a bad situation to be in, but just McCarthy should be able to help them get out of the first round at least. But I think the other big thing is this should help Pittsburgh compete on day one. You mentioned the roster holes. I think McCarthy should be pretty good at helping fix those. And then developing Will Howard in the long run, I think it's going to be great. Something I had written down as well. But yeah, you pretty much smothered it.
But let's say one more thing about Will Howard. I am obviously biased towards Will Howard, so bias check me if I go too far. But I do think Will Howard, and I said this during the national championship run, I'll say it again. Will Howard is a national championship winning quarterback. And you saw how he performed under the brightest lights in the playoffs. He played absolutely tremendous. I think Will Howard has the potential to be a top 10 quarterback in this league. I absolutely believe that. He has the intangibles and leadership that he could lead a locker room. He needs a little bit of development on reading the field. I think Will Howard's incredibly good pre-snap. He's been incredible. He needs a little bit of development on reading the field. Timing obviously is a huge thing for NFL quarterbacks. And he needs a little bit of development with his arm. Little bit of mechanical developments too, but those are all things that probably were done a little bit this year. And Mike McCarthy will solve. And especially if Mike McCarthy wants to be there for 5, 8 years. I've heard Mike McCarthy talk. I've seen a lot of his interviews. That guy loves Pittsburgh. He would love to go win a Super Bowl for Pittsburgh. And I don't think you're going to find a coaching candidate out there that loves Pittsburgh more than Mike McCarthy, and he understands what it means to be from Pittsburgh and what it means to be a Steelers head coach. I think he understands the meaning that you may not get with some of these other guys. There are some franchises in the NFL where it means more. And I think Mike McCarthy is smart enough to understand that when he's been to Green Bay, which is one of those cities, been to Dallas, which is one of those cities. So I really like this hire. I think Mike McCarthy is a great hire. So I will move to that. Super Bowl 60 preview. We have the Patriots and the Seahawks. And so I don't steal any of your points. I will let you go first, Briggs.
So Seattle opens as a 4.5-point favorite, which I'm sitting very much on the fence right now. I could see it going both ways, but it's like I could see this being like Seattle's going to get the demons off their back from not running it on the 1 yard line. Shout out to my friend from elementary school in Japan, Colby Farney, runs track at Navy, massive Seahawks fan. I was giving him crap about this the other day. So hope you're out there. Hope you still vividly remember the interception. But yes, sorry, shameless plug again there. And then I'm going to ask you a quick question. Who do you think will win in this fight? The freight train of Seattle's offense, having scored 72 points in the 2 playoff games they've played so far, or the New England defense that has given up 26 points through 3 playoff games so far?
So I'll give you this. Look who the Patriots offense has played, or the Patriots defense has played. Not taking away anything from the defense, but not the Jags. The Chargers offensive line was incredibly beat up. The Broncos didn't have Bo Nix. They didn't have their starter. And CJ Stroud was blind in Foxborough. So I love CJ Stroud, but he was blind. So going into this game, turnovers. If Sam Darnold executes the way that he did against this Rams defense, I don't think this game will be close. I don't think he's going to execute like this. So, again, I will ask the question. I really want Sam Darnold to do well in this game. I want him to shut up all the noise. I like Sam Darnold. But he's going to have to throw, and what is the cost? This Patriots defense has been incredibly good in pass coverage in the playoffs thus far. Haven't really faced a really good running game in the playoffs thus far. I think Kenneth Walker will provide that. I think being able to get Kenneth Walker into the flat for quick throws as an extension of the run game. You also have Shaheed, which they'll probably give a jet sweep. I trust Clint Kubiak in this position. So I do wonder. I think establishing the run is going to be a big key for both teams. And the Texans play a lot more zone. Drake May did not really run the ball against the Texans. The Broncos run a lot of man. I think they were the number 1 or number 2 team in running man. Drake May called the game with his legs. He did not pass well, which the Broncos are one of the better passing defense, have one of the better front fours. Now, this is statistically one of the lesser I think this is the worst defense statistically that they will play in the playoffs. So, and granted, I think Seattle's like the 5th best defense, and the other 3 defenses they played are top 4. So Drake May and his legs are going to be a big key in this game. I really think that this game is going to come down to third down and turnovers. Red zone's going to be a huge key. Red zone's going to be a huge key as well. Are there going to be touchdowns, not turnovers? Will you have as good of a punting game from Dixon again? So you have so many of these factors, and I think Kenneth Walker is going to have a game. Halani, absolutely tremendous performance in the game against the Rams. Kind of just rambling on here, but just Super Bowl 49 rematch. My early lean is Seattle -4.5, but the Broncos also just covered 5.5. Granted, it was a blizzard, but we get an outdoor Super Bowl. It is closer to Seattle. The 49ers are probably turning that electric substation all the way up for this game, seeing the Seahawks are in it. But the over-under is 46.5. I kind of lean under. I think both these defenses will win out. And this Patriots offense has not been as prolific in the playoffs as the Rams offense. And I think there's a lot more lack of skilled players for the Patriots rather than the Rams had. My other question is how is New England going to handle all the weapons that the Seahawks have when they play? Broncos don't have an abundance of weapons. All of the Texans' good players were out when they played them. Herbert couldn't get protected, and they didn't really have a run game. So you have Kenneth Walker, you have Rashid Cooper Cup, you have JSN, you have Jake Bobo, and AJ Barner, I think is his name. I think that's their tight end one. I could be wrong, but you have all these weapons. And I think Seattle getting these weapons involved is going to be a huge factor in this game. I'll pass it back to you because you asked me a question that was kind of bad on your part, but
Sorry, I was getting ready for my favorite part coming up next. Yeah, I think that just about covers that. The big thing is, can Darnold avoid the turnovers? And can the New England secondary hold up? Because we've seen Darnold be able to just throw the ball around, but usually that has come at a cost so far, and New England has been good at generating that cost, which is turnovers.
I also think Drake May's turnovers. He didn't turn the ball over last time out, but he has fumbled the ball 6 times, I believe, in the playoffs. Didn't fumble it last time against the number one sack defense in the league, but will will Mike McDonald be able to scheme enough up? Because Drake May had fumbled the ball against the two defensive head coaches that they played. Sean Payton, offensive guy, did not fumble the ball. So with Mike McDonald calling plays, defensive super genius over here, will that be a problem in this game? Will Drake May's turnovers? I wouldn't be surprised if he had 4 turnovers in this game, especially with the way this Patriots secondary has been playing. And I think that the Patriots will be able to get to Darnold a little bit. So, just quick thoughts. Do you have any other thoughts on Super Bowl 6? We will do a deep dive. It's probably going to be like a 30-minute segment next Thursday going into it. It is Super Bowl season. And with Super Bowl season comes the Pro Bowl. And I think numbers have really gone down in the Pro Bowl in recent years since they did the flag football. I understand why they're doing it. Now it's held in the middle of Super Bowl week, which I think is an interesting thing. And question of the day is overall opinion on the Pro Bowl. We asked you for your thoughts.
Yeah, I know, grab it.
It's almost a waste. I feel like you could just name the rosters and be done with it. And so that way you don't have guys filling in because somehow, and I'm not even going to mention this Shador thing. Not even going to mention it. Not even going to mention it.
No, you cannot take this from me.
Not even going to mention it. But just name the rosters and let it go. Like, that way we don't have, we're not just throwing someone in at the last minute because Drake May's going to the Super Bowl or Devon Witherspoon's going to the Super Bowl. That way we're not just throwing random guys in and just for no reason just throwing another guy in because Drake May deserves the Pro Bowl. So I just think it's a waste. I think you should just name them. No one really watches it. I probably won't watch it. You got college basketball, you got NHL, you got NBA, you got all the other sports going on. So it was cool for the first couple of years, but I really don't understand why we still do it. I get it. Maybe it's fun for the players and maybe the NFL hosts that privately, but I personally don't see the point in just broadcasting it on TV for whatever reason.
Okay. I do want to apologize real quick. I did not mean to knock my light out there. I accidentally got a little too excited and kicked the cord, which unplugged it. So apologies for that. Second, I'm going to preface this because I know someone out there is going to be stupid enough to say that I'm racist for this. In no way, shape, or form is this based off of race. This is purely statistical. And I know that Shador wasn't selected as one of the alternates, but for the fact that they have to ask 14 other quarterbacks who are either injured, opted out, or playing in the Super Bowl whether or not they wanted to partake in the Pro Bowl, and all of them either said no or have injuries, whatnot. That should be a major tell to the fact that the Pro Bowl just is not working in the current state that it is. you look back to when we were wee little ones, and you look at Sean Taylor just absolutely just laying someone out. I don't remember who it was. I don't really care. All the fact that I care about is that the violence that we saw, it encapsulated the NFL at the time. Like, if you showed someone that video, that perfect description of what the NFL was like. I mean, it was hard hitting, very I don't know what the right word for it is, but it enticed you. And now we're watching the flag football, and I understand where they're coming from trying to limit injuries, but to now the point where no one wants to play in it anymore. And Shador Sanders statistically should be nowhere near the Pro Bowl. More interceptions than touchdowns. QBR is in the dump. Completion percentage in the dump. Was, I think, 3-5, 2-5 as a starter this year. Like, I don't understand how we fall so far down the ladder that this is who is being sent. And I understand that, hey, you have Patrick Mahomes out with an injury. And I think my biggest one was Trevor Lawrence, and I understand heartbreaking loss in the playoffs. He opted out, but the NFL needs to come up with somewhere to make it so that players want to go. You look at the way the NHL did the Four Nations face-off, players wanted to go. There's major discussions about who was left off of rosters as opposed to this guy's opting out, this guy's opting out. You didn't see that. You don't see that with the World Baseball Classic coming up. You're seeing who's not making the roster because these rosters are so juiced. Like, everyone's looking forward to these events, whereas no one really cares about the NFL Pro Bowl nowadays. It used to be something that was looked forward to, and I'll be completely honest, I think it's too far gone for the NFL to save. Like, there's no situation they can really come up with where it benefits the players and it benefits the fans, because the current model isn't benefiting the players or the fans, really. I mean, you're seeing it. If you have so many players that are opting out and don't want to go, to the point where you have Shador Sanders, who is, give him time. I could be wrong about him like I was wrong about Caleb Williams, but as of right now, not a Pro Bowl quarterback. Should not be given that award yet because he hasn't earned it. A Pro Bowl is something that you earn, the same way retiring your jersey is something that you earn. You don't get your jersey retired somewhere barely with a winning record, going 4-8 your first year, and getting spanked in the only bowl game you go to. Like, that's not something that, and if that is what encapsulates a jersey retirement at that school, I mean, that just shows you the pity of their football program. I'm being dead serious. Like, retiring someone's jersey should be something that is like, they won championships. Like, they truly took that program to greatness. And while the Sanders family has brought Colorado out of the dump, Colorado is not great. They aren't in contention. They're nowhere near contention for the Big 12. And even then, the Big 12 is getting, outside of Texas Tech, the Big 12 was getting smacked around by everyone else. Because, I mean, you can look at BYU and Utah. I'm pretty sure if BYU and Miami played today, Miami's dominating that game. Am I wrong?
We're over here in hypothetical college football matchups, which is
Hey,
not the point of this segment.
I'm an SEC guy. You know, we love our hypotheticals. But I'm commenting on the state of the Big 12 there. But again, it goes to show you that the NFL Pro Bowl has fallen from glory to the dump. I think they need to scrap it. They need to come up with some sort of idea. If it's something that a few players like, okay, get together at XYZ Stadium, have fun. We don't need to televise it. We don't need to even promote it at this point. Just, as you said, just pass the awards out. Because even then, guys that are injured should still get the award. Guys who are going to the Super Bowl should still get the award if they're Pro Bowl.
Yeah, it's Like, it's at the point where being an all-pro means more than going to the Pro Bowl. And like, it was fun for the first couple years, but it's just one of those things where it kind of seems watered down. It kind of reminds me of college football bowl season, where it's just like it's kind of too far gone to save in its current form. You could do the Pro Bowl. You could do the Pro Bowl games as they are before the season starts. Do it in that bye week of the between the preseason and the regular season. Could do it like that. I I don't think that's crazy, but doing it because guys are already enjoying their winter vacations. So most guys don't want to travel to XYZ Stadium to go toss a couple balls and hoops and go do various competitions where you still have the risk of tearing an ACL or tearing an Achilles or whatever XYZ injury. So, and it's not like these players don't hang out. So, like I said, either move it or just kind of just name the players and then just move on with it because it doesn't really matter anymore. Had the You could have the rosters come out the night of the NFL awards. Could do it like that, where it's like it's an honor to be named a Pro Bowler. So that way you don't have guys like Trevor Lawrence, Bo Nix, that have to opt out because they're already working or doing X, Y, and Z. Or they just want to spend times with their families because I'm sure they don't get a lot of it during the season. That's my overall take on it. And I just saw Miami escaped. They moved to 21-0. But just kind of just scrap it. But thought that was an interesting segment. It is Super Bowl season, and I hope y'all enjoyed the ride with us. A little bit shorter today. We're going to try to keep it short so that way it is consumable. We thank you all so much for tuning in. We will be back on Friday with a little bit of a different episode. We'll be doing a little more college basketball, hockey, other sports, try to really branch out into nothing but sports. And so we really appreciate your time. Thank you for tuning in. Have a great rest of your week and God bless.